And as I have mentioned, now I am starting this about 45 minutes early for a very simple reason. I didn't do the 45 minutes I promised you over the weekend, so I'm going to do this, and I started the meeting 45 minutes early, okay, and I'm going to run all the way through to get you the material, cover what I should have covered with you last week, the additional stuff, and so we get in that 150 minutes from last week, and we'll get in today's 75 minutes, okay? So I'm starting way early, and you'll be joining the meeting, which is fine. You have the meeting number there, okay? And you'll just have to join the meeting. And I'll be recording it. If you have trouble joining the meeting, then the bottom line is you'll be okay. So I'm going to go back here, all right? And real quickly, I want to show you a resource I had started, and it's been kind of one of those crazy things. I forgot I was not recording at the time, so I'm going to show you about information builders. This is a resource, okay? Take you out to them. These are folks that provide. These are folks that provide, as they say, a service where they can give you interactive reports, analytics, and information apps. Of course, the heart of all of these is a database system. So this is kind of the end product, and this is the kind of thing you're going to see at work, especially dashboards, and they show you industry by industry the kinds of dashboards that they can create, okay? And that's really what they're all about. So as we work through the course, I like to not only let you see the SQL and work with it, but see some of these, what I would call hybrid products. Now, really what you're doing, especially with the interactive reports and or the interactive analytics, is you're running queries. That's really all you're doing, or you're looking at a report. So we will close this one off, and we'll go to another resource over there. Okay, and this is we looked at information builders. These are the top 10 trends, in data warehousing, and this is Oracle Voice, one of their blogs, and I think you'll want to see and just take a look at it again. I'm not going to, you can read faster than I can, than I can sit here and speak it to you. But let me say this, and I say this in every class, I provide these additional resources, okay, to challenge you intellectually to say, okay, I'm going to do something, look at something in depth. I'm going to see what are the latest trends. So, when you want to do a student evaluation of me, you want to say, does he challenge me intellectually? I certainly do, because I challenge you and go into depth on these concepts and see how they're used. So here is the top 10 trends in data warehousing and what's going on with them. As I said before, I'm going to leave it to you to read and to learn about. Okay, now this is the Code Academy, and you may have heard of it, but they have a place where you can learn just about any computer language you want to. This is Learn SQL. Okay, and they walk you through just some they have interactive lessons and so forth, and you can start, and they will teach you SQL. This is from Code Academy, an excellent place to learn code, I guarantee you. The other, and let's see what takes us out here. That's an agenda from, I don't need to see that. This is a link on how to access SAS Visual Analytics. Now, this is a PDF, okay? And this concerns itself with an exercise that you're going to be doing when you go over to Teradata University Network. And I'll have, I believe, I'm pretty sure, yeah, I think I have an assignment for you, and this will walk you through those steps. Okay, so we'll go back there. And I believe the Teradata University Network, I believe I have a link to it for you. And I believe the password is analytics. Okay. And then this is an interesting application. Again, this is applications of a database and data warehouse concept. And this is from the New York Times Magazine, finding a way to grade players in terms of their skills at fielding, their defensive skills as opposed to hitting. Baseball is all in with analytics. Almost every major sport is. And that's not possible without a database. As I said before, some of you will be a little surprised the meeting started. That's okay, as I'm going to say throughout this. I started early to get that additional 45 minutes I needed to get you from last week. So I'm playing catch up here. So this will be a long recording for me. It'll be the usual class time for you, okay? And then some SQL for fun, chapters 10 through 12. And I've got that there for you to play around with. And this is for chapters 10 through 12, and you'll want it down, and you could download those if you care to do it. And we'll talk about that today. Now, I want to also do some housekeeping, and as you come in at the regular time, you'll want to double back, okay, to get some of this. Let's take a look at what's going on week 7. And a lot of that work you've already uploaded. You've got some quizzes and some. See, you got see. That's those are published. You've got some uploads, and that's it. And we'll take a look at those on next week. This is, yeah, for today is the 3rd and the 5th. Now, again, we'll be doing some more work over there. Here's some more stuff from the 17th and the 19th. But we're going to be primarily working with Lunch's database 10 through 12 today. So I'm going to get us kind of rolling as far as that goes. And this is the SQL Fun for chapters 10 through 12. And I'm going to download it. And you'll see it simply has queries. So I'm going to save the database on my desktop. And this is what you'll want to upload for chapters 10, 11, and 12. You'll want to do just this one database, okay? And you'll want to do that. Now, I've got some queries here for you, okay? And I'll show you all the objects. As you look down here, you're going to see we've got some queries that we do for chapter 10, then some for 11. Okay. And then we'll talk some about chapter 12. Okay. As I said again, I'm starting way early because I'm making up for some time. All right. So I want to diminish this down for just a second and go back. All right. And I have this published so you can upload it for chapters 10, 11, and 12. Okay. Now, chapter 10 covers specialized row functions. So you want to take a minute. You should always have your book with you. And I want you to take just a couple, about a minute or so, and look at the other row functions there on page 363 and 364. Okay, now what you're going to see, of course, is that there's the functions for Oracle and Access, they use some different terminology, and then they'll show you examples of those. System timestamps, converting null values. That's like NZ function in Access, NVL in Oracle. So you can see just some of the differences between them. Okay. Now I'm going to take a little bit of time here. All right. And again, like I said, I'm starting way early to make up for the time that was lost when I didn't do what I promised to do last week, and that is give you that additional 40 minutes or so of time. And I did not get around to doing that. I stopped at about, I don't know, a minute, and I had about, I needed another about 35 or 40 minutes to get you to 150 minutes of a full instruction for last week. So I'm not just killing time here. I'm kind of getting us set up for what's going on. Now I'm going to go up here for the home for a moment, and I'm going to go back to the syllabus. Of course, that's where all those assignments are listed. And after today, you'll have what you need to upload for LD 10, 11, and 12. Okay. And so that and that puts us quite a bit ahead. And so we'll be on Wednesday, pardon me, on Thursday, we'll be taking a look at Lunch's database 13. You can see we're working ahead, okay? And each week you've got something going on. This is you don't have any exams or anything, but we're working on these database cases. So the Lunch's database 10, 11, 12, that's over there. That's what you'll upload. And I'll go back over to we'll go back over to the modules part, and I'll show you. And that's the SQL fun for chapters 10 through 12. In fact, I'm going to do this. I'm going to edit this. And I'll just put it. And I'll get this right. Let's see if that looks pretty. And notice what it says here, SQL Fun for chapters 10 through 12, upload this for LD 10, 11, and 12. And the reason I'm doing this is a couple of things. First of all, I've tried to cherry pick those queries and those little problems within each chapter that are worth your time, so you see some examples, okay? And also just to simplify the process for you of what you upload. So we're going to do 10, 11, and 12. We're already working on them today. As I said, some of you will be surprised. The meeting's already going, okay? And I've been going for about 40 minutes or so, but I'm doing this to make up the time that I missed, which I promised you I would do, which I did not do over the weekend, and that's on me. But you'll end up with the full set of information you would anyway. So today we're going to work on 10, 11, and 12, and that's in this SQL file, okay? And that's what you'll upload for Lunches Database 10, 12, 11, and 12. And then on Wednesday, we'll start on Lunches Database 13. Now, I'm just going to give you a quick overview through the chapters. Chapter 10 covers specialized row functions, okay? And we're going to do some of those. And those are using the documentation, and then creating patterns of numbers and dates. That's chapter 10. Okay, and I have some queries there. And then chapter 10 is also going to talk about using the Access Expression Builder, which I absolutely hate. So we won't mess with that. Then over into chapter 10 stops with patterns of numbers and dates, okay? And stuff that really, calendarization has never fun. Chapter 11 deals with summarizing all the data in the column. So now we're going to move into what we call aggregate kinds of queries that summarize data in a column. And we're going to work with the maximum and minimum functions, the count functions, the sum and the other, and then some other topics, okay? And what you're probably going to hear me say repeatedly is, if I have a whole bunch of cases and I have a lot of heavy lifting I want to do, all right, I'm going to take this and throw this stuff, I'm going to take it and throw it into Excel. You probably will, if you're taking 35, if you're taking MIS with me, you probably heard me say the same thing yesterday as we started moving in and working with the notion of dashboards, okay? And so that's, again, I've got some of those, I've got some selected queries I've cherry picked out of there that I think are going to be the most useful to you. And so that's kind of what we'll be looking at when we work through chapter 11. Then chapter 12, we get into working with dividing a table into groups of rows, okay? And those get a little trickier and a little more complicated. Okay. And I kind of have, I had jotted down a set of queries that I was going to work with as far as those went. And so I'm going to see if I've got any chapter 12 queries over here. If I do, I would mark them as 12. So we'll work through this, please. Yeah, I may, probably what we'll do is we'll just work at this level, okay, and then be in a position to get everything done we want to. So this has got 10, 11, and 12 in it, and we'll talk about download this, and then we'll do a little work. Most of what we're going to do today is we're going to look at the queries that I've got there in for chapters 10 and 11, okay, and we'll talk some about, and then we'll go ahead and we'll move on over into chapter 12. Now, if you were to ask me, which is more important, a row function or a column function, I'd say it depends. And I wouldn't be hedging my answer. I'd just be telling you the truth. They're designed to do different things, okay? But here's the fundamental idea I want you to grasp. Use a database for what a database does best. Use a spreadsheet for what a spreadsheet does best, okay? That's important for you to do. And if you don't do it, it's kind of foolish. Now, I'm going to pop this up for just a second. And I'm going to let you see, of course, all these tables we're working on. So in this database, we're still working through that warehouse concept. We have dimension tables. We have fact tables. We have some tables that are kind of hybrid. And of course, you know the difference. Dimension tables are those that have characteristics. Okay. And glad to see you here. And then we have tables that are just really nothing more than a collection of facts. Let me see who just came in. And glad to see you, Dalton. Let me explain what's going on. I neglected last week to follow through with my promise to give everybody that additional 40 minutes or so of coverage that I didn't do, because they're supposed to do 150 minutes. So today I started about 45 minutes early. So what you'll want to do is go back and catch the front end of this where I explain that, talk about some things, some logistics coming up. So you'll want to double back. So today's recording will be longer than usual. And I started about 11:45. Now, just for your benefit, okay, and I'll do this as different people come in and join. We're working on chapters 10, 11, and 12 today. And if you come down here into and let me diminish this down so you can see, if you come here to week 6, okay, you're going to see a download that says SQL Fund for chapters 10, 11, and 12. Upload this for 10, 11, for LD 10, LD 11, LD 12. And the reason is that's an SQL Fund where I worked exclusively on queries for those Lunches database chapters. I've cherry-picked stuff from chapter 10, chapter 11, and then we'll look at some stuff from chapter 12 so that we can get through that. And it's fortuitous, but it does work itself out that I can go through those, okay? and then we can put in the extra minutes. So think of this as one long video that's a chunk of what we would have done some of last week, okay, last Thursday. And remember, I had a doctor's thing, so I had to get out early Thursday. And so I promised everybody we'll do another 45 minutes to get us to that to the 150. So that's why I started so early. But this, if you look, this is click on the link and you'll see it. And you'll want to download this access file because it has queries from chapter 10, chapter 11, and chapter 12, okay, that I cherry-picked out of the text, those that I think are the most useful. Now, I'll explain this to other people as they come in, okay? And what I had done is I had just, downloaded it, saved it to my desktop, and was talking about each of the chapters. And again, chapter 10 covers other specialized row functions. Then chapter 11 talks about summarizing data. Okay, and what that essentially means is what we call aggregate functions. And we'll talk about some of those. Again, like I said, I cherry-picked some of the queries that I think the query and problems I think will be the most useful. Then we get over to chapter 12, which talks about controlling the level of summarization, i.e. creating subtotals, etc. Okay, so that's where we stand. And as people come through, we'll talk about it, and they can always just double back and take a look at the front end of this thing and the recording, because it's going to wind up being 45 minutes and then plus what we do today. But I didn't give us the full 75 last week, so we're putting in an extra in here. And what I would recommend everybody to do it would be to come and watch the thing. Watch the first 40 minutes or so, okay? Because what we'll do is, we're going to cover 10, 11, and 12. And then we will probably start on 13 if we get the chance, but I'm just not sure that we'll get to. But but you are early, and that's okay. You have a chance to look at it. So and as people join, I'll go ahead and explain that. They can always see it in the video as well. Once you download and save this this query, it's SQL Fun chapter 10 to 12 upload, and you'll notice I'm going to go back here, okay, over to the module, and it says SQL Fun for chapters 10, 11, 12. Upload this for LD10, LD11, and LD12. Okay, so you should have it downloaded to your desktop, and then you're going to upload this one database to each of those three places, because this is essentially, as I was saying, this is essentially a data warehouse. It possesses dimension tables, it has some fact tables, it has some constants, which is really tables of constants, which are really a dimension table, okay? And then you'll see as you come down here, you'll see some queries that I've got from chapter 11, okay? And then also from chapter 10. So I'm going to start with the ones that and I'm going to go over to chapter 10, okay? And we'll take a look at that. And again, this is recorded, so folks can scroll forward and fast, etc., as they want to. You ought to have your textbook with you when you're looking at this, okay? And so we're going to talk about using row functions. This is chapter 10. And when we had finished off over on chapter 9, okay, I'm thumbing my way back over there. You know, we did row functions, and then chapter 10 has so-called specialized or other row functions. And you want to take a look at page 363 through 364 because it shows you those other row functions and the syntax for using it in Oracle versus Access, and then a description, and then an example. There's a description and what you get once you invoke the function. Same thing there on page 344. Okay, and page 365 talks about using a function to identify the user and the date. We call this a zero parameter function and a system function. And they show you the code on doing that. Okay. And the access code is there 10.2. It's select current user as user. Current user is the function. Okay. They're over on page 363, and then it's a parentheses as user. So we're using we're going to use a pseudonym or an alias for that column. So I'm going to find 10.2 over here. And if I don't have it, oh, it wasn't one that I thought was important enough to mess around with. So here, let's do this. I'm going to diminish this down, and I'm going to go back into the files, and let's just go ahead and get the Patrick materials. So I have them downloaded. And I have them already on my desktop. So, and here it is, the Patrick materials zip, that zip file. And then what I'm going to do is go ahead and diminish this down. I'll diminish this down. You can see how nasty my desktop is. Isn't that awful? And let's see, I want to get the access code. And then I can work with 10, 11, 12. So I'm going to open up the access code for 10. Okay. And I'm going to bring my browser back up in there, and I want to get that access code. And so let's pop over here, and here it is. Now, here's the code for 10.2, and we're going to put it in, and we don't necessarily need to save this. The stuff that I think that's really important, I already have there for you, but we can mess around with it. So let's try this. This is supposed to give us the current user. So we'll go over here and click Create. And Query Design. We'll close it off. We'll do the SQL. And we'll run it. And it should give us, and of course, my name is Administrator. And this is Tuesday, October 3rd. Okay. Now, this is just a query that can be run as a login device, okay? And so if you wanted to save it as 10.2, you could go ahead and upload it. I don't really care. But, you know, we've done, you know, it's query 10.2. And just for the benefit of those who'll come in late here, if any, I'm going to go ahead and save this. as 10.2. Now, if people just upload the other file and they don't do that, I'm okay because they will have seen the video. Hopefully, they'll come over and they'll see the video and then they'll add these queries in. So this one is 10.2. And it's just kind of an ID. Select the current user, open bracket, open parentheses, close parentheses. As user, we're using a column alias, and then we format it. And then notice it has the now function, now, open parentheses and close. That's the same function as is used in Excel. And then we have, in quotes, the date, pardon me, the date, the month, the date, the year, and the hour and the minute as date time. That's the year, the month, the date. Oh, wait a minute, those are the DDD. Let me look. I'm gonna look at this for just a second. I'm gonna look at. Okay. All right, that's the user. Then there's the date. Okay, so that's 10.2. Again, used primarily as a device for logins. I'm over on chapter 10, page 367. Now, over on page 366, on page 367, okay, the author begins to walk you through task 3 and using a function to change null values, okay? Now, if you open up the code, all right, and this is Oracle style, okay? Now, well, the 10.3.1 is Access SQL in Oracle style. And there's some things I want you to notice here, first of all. The NZ stands for null value, okay? In Oracle, that's NVL, okay? And it converts it to a null number. So we're going to try this and see if it's gonna work for us. This will be 10.3 task 1 Oracle style, and that's page 367. Then you'll notice on 368 he has an access style where he does task 2. So we're going to play with this for just a second. We're going to select the primary key, okay, and we're going to replace any null value. So I'm going to copy that. Right, and I'm going to click Query by Design, and I'll close. I'll come down to the SQL level, and I'm going to run it and see what happens. And you'll notice, okay, you'll see this thing called text column. That should, yeah, that should be text column text underscore COL2, and that is okay. And the numeric column 2. So we put in the alias there, and we got that. And you'll see that up above there in the code. So we just basically got rid of any null values. That's what the NZ does. It converts null values to another value. And they talk about that over on page 367. And again, we've talked about the idea of null versus null values versus zeros and the problems those present. So I guess if we want, we could save this as 10.3. Like I said, there are going to be some people who will just upload the 10.3.12. That's okay. And I'm going to call this 10.3. And I'll see if he asks us to call it anything in particular. No, I'm going to call this 10.3 task 1. And that's the name of the, okay. Now, I didn't include this because I feel like that by the time I've gotten to this point in the course, I've groused so much about the problem of nulls that everybody would get it, okay? But there are going to be those times when you need to deal with null values, and that's what this does. And if you look at the code, we'll talk about it here for just a minute. We're going to select the primary key, okay? And then we're going to select column 0 as column 1, 2, or L2, and we're going to use the null. Okay, then we're going to do a text column. Okay, and we're going to get that column, and that will be zilch. So we're in the first one. We're going to get the we're going to have a numeric column of 1, and then we'll have a text column 1, 2, and then the date, and that'll be over there in column 2. And we're going to do that with each primary key, and we're going to get that from the section 10003 table. Okay, so we're just getting rid of null values, and we're using the NZ function to do that. Now they give us, and that's task 1. Now they have a task 2, okay, and that's over in that's over there in over on page 368. And here we put in a date, and so I'll just show you real quickly. And if we do task 3, 10.3 task 2, we can do that. We'll just go ahead and do it. Then we'll just click select, and it looks like I lost Dalton. This Dalton will be back to and I could create and query design. We'll close this. We'll go to the SQL view. And we'll call this, say this 10.3 task 2. Okay. So if you follow along here, and I saw Dalton stop by and took off, well, maybe I'll have some other people join me here. I'm adding in a couple of additional queries. And what I probably and what I'd like you to do is download and kind of follow along and try this so that you can see how it's done. And basically, that's over on page 368. They select the primary key, okay. Then we get a number column, and we fill any null values there with no number. So if there's a null value shows up, we put no number, and we give that a column alias as column 12. Then we hunt for any null values and if we in the text column, and then we put in no text. Then finally, we look for any nulls in the date column, and we put no date, and that says date, and those are all from section 1003. and they show you the beginning and ending table. So anywhere there was a null value, we hard keyed in a replacement, and that would be either no number or no text or no date. And if you go back and you look at table 10003, okay, you're going to see the null values. So this is just a function to help us find null values. That's all it's about. Okay, so you could save these, all right, and go from there. Now, so I'm going to close this. Okay, so we've done 10.2, 10.3, task 1 and 2. Over on page 370, I'm going to show you this. Here we have a beginning table. The primary key is A and B. I'm in the middle of page 370. This is section 10004 table. All right. And then we have a primary key with text 1 and text 2. Then we want to add them. And so if you add them, you get 12. If you subtract them, that's that text, and here's a correct result. And so you manipulate those texts. You add them, you subtract them, you multiply, and you divide. Excuse me. Pardon me. Okay. And the access result table using the Oracle is incorrect. Excuse me. I am so sorry. And you can see if you do it with access, you get the addition part is incorrect. Now, the subtraction is, the multiplication is, and the division is, but the text addition is not. Notice what you got there. Instead of having 12 in column in row A, you have 84. Instead of having 44 in column in row B, you have 3311. The reason is access sees that plus sign and treats it like a concatenation or joins the string. So up there on page 371, they show you the completion, okay? And apparently there's something in there really making me crazy. And the bottom line is then we have to do it. And here what we do in the access is we use the CINT, and that converts characters to numbers, and that's covered over on page 364. I'm going to let you take just a look at that. Again, it's the top of page 371 where the addition is correct versus page 370 where the addition is incorrect. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay. I had a microphone quick malfunction there. These things are going to happen, but we're back. Okay, so I'll try it one more time. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. And it looks like the microphone's back. It kind of died on me for a sec. Now, again, SQL, we had to convert that everything to integers, okay, in order to treat them as numbers. Whereas Oracle did that automatically. So that's 10.4. Now I did 10.4 down here, and I'll show you. Okay, and there it is. So as I said before, you know, I'm going a long way today here, and basically, I'm making up the time that I missed from last time, and I'm going to go, you know, all the way over to 145, if at all possible, to get us to that point. Now, so we did 10.4, and basically and I'll just go back and show the SQL. Well, it's going to be easier to do it in here. Now, to get this correct, first of all, we select the primary key. So that, what we're really doing is we're selecting the rows, but we're using the primary key. Then we got text 1, text 2, okay, and those are a couple of columns, okay, and then we convert to integer. That's what the CINT means, and we convert to integer anything that's in text 1, that column. We convert to an integer anything in text 2 column, okay? And we use the CIN. So we've converted whatever's in the column called text 1 and the column called text 2. We've converted them to integers. Then we can add them. Okay? Then we can perform, you can see, once we convert them to integers, we can subtract, that's right here. We can multiply, and we can divide. So we had to take the data and convert them. We had to clean them up a little bit in order to use them. So when you hear people out there talk, you'll be at work, they'll talk about, you know, cleaning up the data. This is a good example of that type of operation, where we have to take data that are stored as text, for example, and as we did in this case, and convert them to numbers, i.e. convert them to integers. And so we have task 4 right there. Okay? And I'm surprised I haven't had more people join me, but, you know, who knows? And I'm not getting any messages, but one person managed to get through, and that's Dalton, and I've got everything over here for today. So we'll move on through. Now, there's a lot over here in this chapter that talks about Oracle documentation, okay? And I'm talking about pages 372 over to page 377, using the Access Expression Builder to find row functions and to build them and so forth. And I've always found the Expression Builder to be a little bit clunky, okay? The documentation in Oracle, those row functions, they show you how to go into the library and get that. And so I just want to show you what's there on page 375. So they tell you click the Create tab on the ribbon. I'm going to click Create. And then they say click Create Query Design on the ribbon. I'll click Query Design. Okay. I'm in page 375. I'm following the steps. And it's going to say click the Show Table window. Okay. And I want to find the show. I'll click the Show Table window. Okay. And right click a field cell or a criteria cell. Okay. And so I'm going to find that show window, show table So I'm in the create, query design on the ribbon. Okay. And then I'm going to click the show table window, and the table is there. Right click a field or a criteria cell. And I'm going to add the alpha. I don't know. Let's see here. Don't tell us what to add. So I'm going to click on the field, and and it says build, and that gets us the expression builder. You can see why I don't like it. It's clunky, and if you're going to be doing some heavy lifting, you know, the bottom line is, as I've said before, dump it into Access. And so we'll close all here, and we'll close down the queries. And we're right back to this blank thing that we have. Now, over on page 377, they talk about creating a simple pattern of numbers. Okay. Well, we're going to walk through these steps. Here is 10-8, and then we'll have a 10-8 task 2. So in step 1, we're going to enter this SQL. This is at the top of page 378. I'll see if I can find 10 step 1. No, there isn't one. So I'm going to click create, query design, close that, go to SQL view, get rid of this, and I'm at the top of page 378, excuse me, and I'm going to do Access SQL step 1. So I'm going to type in select. In fact, I think he has that here for us. Here it is. Yeah. This is 10-8 step 1. Now before we run this, let me show you what we're going to do. We're going to select in. We're going to select whatever's in a row. We're going to take 3 times that, and that result will be in a column called as multiple of 3. And we're going to get it from a table called numbers _0 to _9. Okay? And they show you the beginning table there in the middle of page 378 and the ending table. So I'm going to copy this. Okay? And then I'm going to run it. And let me see what, oh, let's close this. And it's strange to me, I don't have more people here today. I usually have one person, usually should have many. And my day and time says it's Tuesday, the 3rd of October, and we have work to do. So let me say this, if I hope you listen to this, folks. You know, this is a virtual. You don't have to be here if you don't want to, but maybe you should. But you can always swing through it and try to find the copies. So I'm going to click create, query design. I'm going to close it off. I'm going to go down to SQL view, and I'm going to put this in. And we'll run it and see what we get. And there we are. And there we get the multiple of 3. And that's, we're going to save that as 10-8 part 1. Now we did 10-8 step 2. I'm going to close this and then rename it. And that's easy. I'll just come down here and I'll click rename, and I'll call this 10-8 step 1. And I get the caps out of it. Well, let's see, they want us to say this is okay. And okay, here we go. They don't want us to do that. They want us to call this SEC 10.008 underscore view. Okay, that's what we named it. We already had that in there, 10 underscore view. There it is. Now, we're going to run the second step. And so I'm going to find 10.8-2. Here it is. And we'll open it up. And there are the multiples of 3. So we just created a pattern of numbers is what we did here. Okay? Now, over on page 380, okay, we've got 10.9. Okay, and so let's look at 10.9 here, then we'll talk about it for just a minute. Again, we're doing some manipulation here. All right, now I want to talk about this for just a moment. Here we're going to select N, that's a column, as a prime number from the table called numbers underscore 0 underscore to 99. And they show you that beginning table with zeros with column N, and then the numbers 1, 0, 1, 2, all the way to 99. Okay? This is what we call a table of constants. Okay? And where N is greater than 10, okay? And then we have a series of and not clauses, and not with an N mod 2 equals 0. And that is, of course, the remainder, or a 3, a 5, or a 7, in order by N. Okay? And we get the result set is a set of prime numbers. Now, this may be, I think, a little bit, I think this is a little bit of work to get a list of prime numbers, frankly, but the authors wanted to show us using the and not, using the mod function, and then another equivalency function, which means 0. We'll run it, and there we are. And that's the prime numbers between 0 and 99. Now, we may want to do this. Why would we use this? I don't know, maybe for IDs, maybe to create unique identifiers. I don't know. If we had a table that went from 0 to 99,000, it'd give us all those prime numbers. And so it's to show it. So this is 10.9. I will save it as, I want to do that. I want to save this. And they don't tell us what to save it as. So I'm just simply going to call it 10-9. We may have done this already. I don't know. Tell me if it has. Yeah, why not? Okay. And so we'll close it. So we're doing some more work with patterns of numbers. Over 10.10, they show you how to list all the days of 1 week. And those would be 10-10 step 1A, 10-10 step 10 step 1A, 10 step 1B. That's really what they are. And all you're doing is you know, remember, they're telling you, remember, you can only run one state at a time. This is page 381. And you create the table, and then you insert the value into it, which is the 24th of February. And that's the result sets up there at the page 382. As you heard me say before, if you're inserting data, you're probably better off using a form to insert it directly in the table as opposed to running all the queries. And then they have a step here where they have you create a view that contains 7 dates. That's the middle of page 382, okay, folks? And the bottom line is this. It uses the CDate function. This is in the middle of page 382, and you want to take a look at that. And that converts characters, strings to dates. And that's talked about over in page 364. And then they tell you to take the thing and save it as a section 1010_view. And some more pattern creation, using abbreviations for days, and then the full name of the day, and that's using the format function. And now on the DDD, it calculates the full name and then returns an abbreviation. And then on the full day row, that's that third line of code there at the top page 33. They show you 4 D's as full day. So we have an as abbreviated day, then as a full day. And just some more of that manipulation. 384 is some more of that, creating tables of consecutive days, displaying reports. I'll walk you through those processes. Then he has the thing to find out how old you are by using the now function. Then working with prices. Now the author has an optional section over on page 393 on solving algebraic expressions. Let me say this to you, my friends. Enjoy. If you want to do algebraic expressions, I think you probably need to do the heavy lifting over there in Excel. Use it for what it is. It's a spreadsheet. And it's probably going to be a lot easier for you to do that. But it generates numbers between 90 and 90.99. You can you can generate numbers in Excel a whole lot easier, especially series. Now that's chapter 10. Chapter 11 moves us over to column functions, okay? And you want to take a look at page 401, okay? And for the simple reason is it summarizes everything there for you, okay? And like I said before, this is a very long recording because what I'm doing is I'm getting us caught up from what I took away from us the other day, okay? And I've been going at this now over an hour. So here's what I'm going to do real quickly. I'm going to pause the share, and then I'm going to pause the recording, and I'm going to take just about a 3 or 4 minute break and come right back. So I'm going to click pause the share. I'm going to pause the recording. And I'm not seeing hardly anybody over here today. And I think what's happened this morning, I had some issues with my microphone. And as I started to do this long recording to get us caught up to where we should be today, I had a malfunction with it. So I had to stop that and delete that link and access code of the meeting and replace it with a new one. And you'll always find the access code to the meeting in the announcements area. And some of you probably had them copied somewhere or whatever and just was going to hit the link And so I'm sure I'm going to see a bunch of emails about that issue, and I'll just have to tell you always, if the link you have on doesn't work, come in and check it versus the link in the announcements. Okay. That being said, we're over in chapter 11, and over on page 401, they show you real simply, we summarize all the data in a column. These are what we call aggregate functions. And page 403 walks you through all of those aggregate functions, what they're all about, okay, and what they do. Okay, and the bottom line is they show you those for Oracle, for Access, okay, and then the treatment of nulls, okay, and then some functions, finding minimum and maximum values. When we have an aggregate column, that is, when we have an aggregate number, which is typically going to be, okay, there we go. The share is back and the recording is still going. Good. I'm very sorry. Back on chapter 11, and I paused that share, but you can hear me. Over on page 403, 401, they talk about column functions. 403, more about column functions. Okay, text columns, and then how they're converted over. And we start. The author starts us over there in terms of he starts us over there in terms of looking at aggregate functions, i.e. row functions, or pardon me, column functions. And he starts with the two, maximum and minimum. When we look at aggregate data, we're looking at them from 4 perspectives. I know this is not a stat class, but it ties into what we're talking about. We look for whatever is in the middle, the mean, the median, or the mode. Where is everything clustered? Then we look for, well, what's the outlier in terms of the highest value or the largest value? Then we look for the outlier in terms of what is the lowest value or the least value. And so we start here, and they have us run min and max. Minimum is the minimum function. Maximum, obviously, is the maximum function. Okay? And so if you'll take a look at the bottom of page 405, you're going to see Access 11.5. Now, I had downloaded, okay, all that for chapter 10. So I'm going to close that notepad. And I'm going to get the code now for Access chapter 11, because I was using 10 and now I want to use 11. And this is task 11.3. And we may have run it. And then we'll diminish this down, and we'll click Create, Query Design. We're going to close. Now we're going to run this, and it gives us some expressions. Now let's go back down into the SQL view. Okay, and I'm going to try something here. Minimum s like limit, and I'm going to try to add a well. Let's do this from the. I will do it down here. I'm going to take. Well, I'll just show you. I'm going to close this for a second, not save it. Okay. And here I'm going to modify this as cred lim. And then a comma. I'll call it credit limit. And then I'll put a column, comma. And let's see if I get a pseudo column, an alias from that. So I'll click that. And we'll click create, query design, SQL, boom. And then we'll run it and see what we get. Oh, I see. Okay. The syntax error there. Let's try it now. It's missing the comma. There we go. And you see now how I went ahead and used a column alias to get the credit limit. And I could go in and use the column alias for these other columns. And we'll go back down to the SQL view and we'll take a look at it. And this, in fact, I'll do it up top here where we can see it. So there's as credit limit, as max limit, I'll call this max to limit. I don't know, max limit. I'm just calling it as max, comma. Okay, we'll call it max credit. These two seem a little redundant, but we'll go along. And then I'm going to get rid of the comma there, and I'll put as first name and a comma, and then we're adding column aliases in order to make this a little bit better. As last name, comma. Okay, and I didn't want to do that. Back up. And then as hire date, from employees. So let's see what we got going on. And this should give us this should give us the and we're going to do this. We're going to get rid of this. We'll close it. And then we're going to click create, query design. We'll close them. We'll go to SQL view. And then we'll run it. Now, that gives us the column aliases that we wanted. Conley, just to let you know, I started, because last week I promised everybody I'd do another additional 45 minutes when I had to bug out early on that doctor's appointment. So I started the meeting early today, and I had to replace the meeting ID that was originally in Zoom with a new one. So I put a new ID in the announcement. So that may have caused some confusion, but what you want to do is back in, because this video is going to be for today, the 40 minutes or so I didn't do last week, plus today's. Now, I've covered chapter 10 and I'm into 11, okay? And you can get yourself caught up. And I do want to let you know about this before we go any further. Let me diminish this down, and let me diminish this down. And if you go back over here, okay, to the modules, and this is important, the modules. What I did was I went through and cherry picked those queries that I thought were going to be that were the most important for everybody. And so when you when you want to, well, this is a file, okay? This is a database that has queries for Lunch's database 10 is chapter 10, chapter 11, chapter 12 that I cherry picked out as the ones I thought that were the most relevant. Now, right now I'm going into some more depth, okay, because I'm adding on this extra time to make up for what I didn't get to do last week. So, but yourself and anyone who listens to this should know, upload this file, and it's a file there for Lunch's database 10, 11, and 12. Now, once I'm finished with the recording here and I upload the recording, I may go ahead and replace the file with this one I'm working on here that's got some more detail in it. But either one people upload, okay, will be fine with me. But probably the easiest course for everybody will be is whatever is in here, okay, download it, and then upload it back for chapter, for Lunch's database 10, 11, 12. Because it's kind of a jumble of functions and jumble of tasks. And like I said, I cherry picked out the ones that I thought were best. So that's where we are. Now, right now, I'm working with chapter 11. So you can download that file to the file that's up there at Canvas. It says, chapter 10, the one I just showed you. Yikes. You can download that thing, okay, and then work along, okay? So that, and you can do that easily. What I did here, now this is from chapter 12, pardon me, chapter 11, summarizing data, and that's dealing with aggregate data or summary data. And as I mentioned before, there on page 403, they show us column functions. And at the bottom of page 403, you'll see the basic column functions for using data. Max, min, sum, average, count the number of columns, count distinct columns, okay? And here's all I could say as we move into this, if you have a sizable number of cases, it may just be a lot easier and a lot better for you to export the data into Excel and get those kinds of aggregate data there, because you can also get a standard deviation. You can get average. Those functions are easy to do. So it just depends what you're doing. But in this case, I pulled the data. I'll go back here to the design view, and we use the employees table. Okay, and I'll show you the expression. These show up as expressions when in fact we used a column alias name. So if you had some trouble getting in today, I apologize, but had some shenanigans there. Got a chat? Okay, no problem. That's good. That probably make more sense for you, and I'll send everybody an email out, or I'm sure they'll get the drift. Okay, well, thank you for stopping by, Conley. And again, I'm trying to make up some time for what we lost last Thursday, and then I'm going to go ahead. So I've got a ways to go here, because I started this about 11:30, so I've gone quite a ways. And this class goes 12:30 to 1:45, so I'm going to get us as close there as I can. Okay, so what we did is, again, we created. And I'll just show you, this is going to be 11.3. I'll call it 11-3. Okay? And well, yeah, sure. And then when we go up to the data sheet view, you can see it. Hire date, the last name, the first name, the maximum credit. Okay. And they show you the beginning table and the ending table. Again, now on 11.4, which is over on page 407, and I'm going to see if I have an 11.4 in here. I don't. Yeah, I do. Folks, 11.4 is on page 407. And again, well, we use the column aliases there. And I'll open that up and show you. Well, that's, yeah. This 11, I just did that as 11.3. So we'll close them both. We have 11.3 and 11.4. 11.3, I'm gonna rename that as 11.3, 11.3 underscore 11-4 underscore with underscore column underscore alias. Okay. All righty. Now, as you can see, we have two steps that he wants us to follow there over on page 409. And here we're finding the minimum or the maximum. Okay. And so we're going to select the minimum credit limit from the employees. And it uses the minimum function. This is bottom of page 409. I really don't think I ought to have to run this. I think you can easily do this. Just select, and then the min is the minimum function, and then inside the credit limit from the employees. And that's 11.5 step 1. Then they walk you through an 11.5 step 2, okay? And I'll show you here, 11.5 step 1, there's the select min, here's the step 2, okay? And I've had only a couple of people, so there may have been some confusion about people getting in, and that's okay. That's why I have it recorded for everybody to see at their view. Okay, so the couple of folks who've come by today, they can view it. And what I'd say to everybody is view this in chunks, and I'll send an email out, and I'll label this as such. This is chapter 10 through 12. There's 11.5 step 1. And now over on page 410 is an Oracle and Access where we use a subquery, okay? And now you say, what are you talking about? Here we can see this is called method 2, okay? And I want to highlight and bring it to your attention for just a second. I'm just going to highlight this. I'm a font. I'm bringing the font up to 18. Now let's see notice what's going on here. Okay, we're going to select the employee ID. No big deal. We've done that. First name, last name, credit limit from the employees table. No big deal. Then we use a where statement. Yep, no big deal, where, and we use an equivalence, the equal operator. And now, starting with this parenthesis, is a subquery. So you say, Dr. Harmon, you say I can run a query and then embed another query inside of it to even further refine the results? Yes, that's the whole point. Okay, and if you look at this, if you look over on page 410, the beginning table 1 and the result table, you'll see that. As I've said before, the more stuff added in a query, okay, the smaller the result set. Okay, and we're going to run 11.5 method 2. I'll click OK. And like I said, I would create query design. And I'm getting some craziness here. Something's not happening. I'm not sure what's going on. And my thing froze up with me. Let's click home. No, we click create, query design. There we go. That was strange. And I'll close it off. I'll go down to the SQL view and we'll copy this in, we'll run it. And there it is. Now this is going to be, we're going to save this as 11.5 method 2. And what we did was we ran a subquery 5 underscore, I'll just cram them all together. I hate writing underscores, method 2. Method 2. Okay? And the subquery, remember, the subquery is right here. See? And so we can really refine our results when we do at the bottom page 410. Now, they also show us how to do the count functions. Okay? And now that's not that big of a deal. It's 11.6. And here we're going to select count. Now, notice something. Inside the count function, I have an asterisk, which means count everything. Okay? And then count the last name, the hire date, the manager ID, and all that from the employees table. So we're going to take 11.6, and we're going to copy that. Okay? And I'm going to click create, query design. We'll go down to the close. I'll go to the SQL view, boom, and we'll run it. And there we are. Now I have some expressions which I could go back in and rename. So I'm going to go back in here to the SQL view, and I'm going to go back up here where I can see what I'm doing. All right, and I'm going to select count as count. We may get into some trouble with this one. And put a comma. I'm not sure if it's going to nail us for invoking that. And now, to get the result table also, the author did some other things like to get all caps and all business. So I'm not going to do that. And then we'll count as last name. I'll put a comma there. We're putting in the column aliases so it makes more sense. Hire date. Okay. And as manager ID from employees. Let's see what we get. So what I did basically is I ran the query, but I didn't pretty it up by creating some column aliases. So I'm going to close that, and I'm not going to save it. Instead, what I'm going to do is this, I'm going to come back over here. This 11.6, I reworked it. I've added column aliases. Okay. And then I'm going to click create, query design, close, and I'm going to SQL view, and boom, and we'll run it. And there it is. It comes out count, last name, manager ID, all very nicely done, if I say so myself. And this would be, I'm going to save this as 11-6. Okay? All right. Now, we may, now, they want us to count distinct numbers. Now, 11.7 is kind of interesting because here we use some we use some column aliases. So we're going to do this. We'll run 11.7. Control C. Now I'll click Create. Query Design. We'll go to the SQL view. Boom. And we'll run it. And that gives us the result table there shown on page 414. Okay. Now I want to show you something. I had groused a little bit earlier about these issues in terms of handling numbers. And I'm going to go down to the SQL view and let you see it for just a sec. And here we use some column aliases, and we use the count function, the max, the min, the sum, and the average. Okay, and that's the result set that we get. Now I'm going to pause the share for just a minute and pause the recording. I'll be right back because I'm going to stop and kind of catch my breath. I got another 25 minutes to go before I get you all caught up, and you can do this in chunks. I'm going to take a pause on the share, and I'll pause the recording. And I don't think I must not have paused the share, so we'll continue on. And looks like we're still going there. Okay, yeah, now let me resume this just to make sure. Good. Now I'm going to the recording. We're good. Now we're working over here on 11.7, and that's what this is. So we're going to save this as 11.7. I've gone into a lot more depth than I normally do, and we'll save it for that. And I may just go ahead and stick with what we've done for 12. There's a workaround. There's a workaround over on page 416. It's called 11.8, and it's a workaround for step 1 on 11.8. You can do that in the GUI, and that's select the distinct manager ID. So we're going to take a stab at that and see what we get. We're using distinct here, a key word. And so I click Create, Query Design. I'm going into a little more detail here. And we'll run it. And we pasted 4 rows, and we have that. So that is step 11.8. So we're going to call this, we're going to save this as 11-8 workaround step 1. Okay? And then it'll tell us to save it as anything. And then on step 2, we get rid of the column aliases. And that's 11.8.2 workaround step 2. I'll show you the design unit. And here we just as ID counts. There's the data set. It shows us how many IDs there are. Okay, now I'm going to close all of these. And closing out chapter 9, they walk through using the select count and then distinct. And they're at the bottom of, pardon me, on 419, they show you the workaround. As you can see, there are some workarounds that we have to do. And that's because we're trying to use this database more as we're moving closer and closer, trying to use it like a spreadsheet. And the more we do, the more difficult it becomes. And you'll see I've got some other steps in there, other 11.9 queries. You can see those listed there. Okay. And there in on page 422 and 423, they talk about the problem of nulls. Okay. And notice that they talk about in the middle of page 422, it says 3 plus null equals null. Okay. Because null is, you can't add anything to null, but you can take 5 plus null plus 8 and you get a 13, okay, if you get the sum of the rows. And so it has you an example of the problem with the addition that you run into. That's 1111 at the bottom, and you can see that over there in the text file for chapter 11. Here's that, and again, we talked about that problem, and we have to correct it, and so we select the sum, and here, see the no nulls, that's the NZ function, okay, and we just have to use the NZ function again. Then we have a column alias, and here we have to use the no nulls again, no nulls again, and that's all from that. That uses the row function, using a row function as a correction there. They walk you through some of those, and that's page 425. And you can see, and the remainder of chapter 11 pretty much runs you through those manipulations of getting rid of nulls using sums. 1112 over there in page 429 is another example. Page 430, they show you how to count dates. Okay. And they show you the Oracle and SQL, where you can count the number of nulls. And then he concludes with a solution of taking a beginning table, that's the lunches, and then getting the date that the data were entered into a new format. And you can see that here in the file for that. So that's chapter 10 and 11. It's 134, and we have about 9 minutes more till I get to the point where we do chapter 12. Okay? And I'm just going to talk about chapter 12 on a very brief basis, since this talks about taking data and putting them into groups. Okay? And you're going to see the group by clause, and I'm going to open up the chapter 12 data. Now, I'm going to do a few of these. Okay? And we've got 10 minutes left in this chapter to do this. So I'm going to select this and we'll run it. And basically we're using some more, we're doing some grouping. We're getting things like subtotals. Okay. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in just a minute. I'm going to run this and boom. Notice now I have the manager. I have groups of managers. I've grouped them by ID. If they don't have one, that's fine, but ID 201, 202, 3. And so we've got the max and we've got the number of employees who report to them. We've got the minimum credit limit and the maximum credit limit. Okay? So we did that, a little bit of heavy lifting, and that's going to be 12.2. All right? Now, and it's going to be faster in some ways to walk you through it. You can see the beginning table on 440 and the result table on 12.2. Now, if you have groups made up of 2 or more columns, they cover that over in 12.3. That's page 443. And we'll take a look at that. That's going to be 12.3. Now, I'm going to stop for a minute and let you look at what we're going to select the manager ID, the department code. Then we're going to count the employee ID as number of employees. So we're using, well, a lot of times we're going to see this, we're using a function and we're using a column alias. And then we use the where not, then we group them, then we order them. Now let's copy this. You'll see the layers that we begin to build in. So we'll click create, query design, SQL, and we're going to run it. And there it is. And this is 12.3. Okay. And so you know, we're still rolling along here. This is 12.3. And on page 445, he takes it to a little more. We're going to add some aliases to the result set. So let's look at that 12.4. There's 12.4. And if you look at this and then you compare, oh, okay, we're going to run this. Okay, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to click this, and we'll click create, and then query design, SQL, and we'll do it. We'll run it, boom, boom. Now, what we didn't do was use column aliases for each of these columns. And we've got PK1, column 3, and so we didn't. We have you know, we have the columns there. We sure you got the primary key. I'm not understanding why we didn't. We'll take a look here for just a second in the SQL. Well, apparently we did. That's okay. We're going to say this is 12.4 anyway. Okay. Now, with the last 5 minutes, he talks about some of the limitations that we have doing summation. He shows us how we can add some more columns if we want to using the group by. That's over at page 451. And there in 12.6, you add some more columns in. He shows you the Oracle and Access SQL in 401. Then he shows you the beginning table and the result table, and you've added those columns. Then he shows us a statement for summarized data. And he shows us how to create a report with subtotals, totals, etc. That's 12-9. That's over on pages 456 through 4. And he really goes through some more machinations. This using the having clause, and contrast it with the where, and just more and more elaborate kinds of uses of summaries, okay? And then he gives you all those key points. And I think I have what I thought were the most important ones are 12, 2, 3, and 4, and I have them for you. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to close all of these. Okay, and I'm going to close this off. All right, and I had this as SQL Fun, chapter 10 through 2. And I'm going to come over here. You're going to see the inner machinations. And I'm going to delete this. I'm going to remove it. Okay. And then I'm going to go over here to Files so that you'll get the complete one that I just did. And I'm going to upload. And if you had uploaded the one earlier, some of you might, I'm okay with that. Here it is. And we'll replace, okay? It's going to upload that. We're replacing the old file. And then what I'm doing is I'm going to go back over here to the modules, and I'm going to replace the old one that was there with the new one, with the one we've done here today. And so this is week 6, and I'm going to add a file. You see how I'm learning how to do this? And I'm going to find SQL funds is going to be down here. And this is SQL fund chapter 10 to chapter 12 upload. And we'll add that item. And there it is. And that's what you should upload for Lunch's database 10, 11, and 12. Well, this has been a journey, but I made up all the time, the 40 minutes or so we lost from last week, plus a full session today, so we're all caught up. Now, it's Tuesday. On Thursday, we'll start with chapter 13, which starts to move us into joins, okay? So I want to say thank you so much, okay? And I would suggest you watch this in chunks, and we'll go from there. So, as I know right here, upload, okay? And I'll see if I can put a message in here. I'm gonna, if I know I can't because I can't edit it. All right, we'll go back here, and I'll see if I can just edit the title. I'll put in use this for LD 11, LD 12, pardon me, LD 10, LD 11, LD 12. I will update and see how it looks. There we go. Use this for LD 11, LD 10, 11, LD 12. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to stop the share and then stop the recording and end the meeting.